My son was born 3 weeks ago, and up until a few days ago, we were using nursing shields all the time for our breastfeeding sessions. We have now completely weaned off of the nursing shields. I've gone probably about 4 or 5 days now without using them once, which feels like a massive win, but I wanted to share how we got to this point in case it helps anyone else. So to begin with, there were 2 contributing factors to my son struggling to latch and feed without a nursing shield. The first was the shape of my nipples, and the second was that he had a tongue tie, which meant that he didn't have the range of motion. These things together created like the perfect storm of him just not being able to do it. Hence the nursing shield. Now, the first thing that we did 3 days after he was born was we actually had his tongue tie cut. We went to an orthopedic dentist who assessed him, confirmed that he did have a tongue tie, and cut it for us. This was kind of a scary thing to do because we'd heard from friends who had advised us against doing it. They'd done it with their 6-month-old. But the great thing about him being 3 days old was that honestly, he cried for maybe 30 seconds and then he went back to sleep. The recovery was pretty much none. If I could go back in time and give myself advice, I would say definitely do it. It 100% increased his range of motion, which massively helped us. And when we spoke to the dentist about it, she kind of positioned it as, I can't promise you that this is going to help, but there are so many potential upsides with doing this, even outside of breastfeeding, and there are very limited downsides. And so with that on the table, that was how we kind of made that decision to do it. And again, I think because he was so young when we did it, it was much easier for us than if he'd been maybe 6 months old or a little bit older. The next thing we did is we had a lactation consultant come in the very next day. One thing that I did before I even had my son was I found a lactation consultant that I liked, and I booked her in for a session following the birth, just so that I knew that I wouldn't have to find someone if I was in the thick of struggling with breastfeeding. I just wanted to have the help booked and planned up front. So she came and she was super helpful. He latched for the first time without a nipple shield and fed, which was amazing. But annoyingly, as soon as she left, he was struggling again. And so I felt very disheartened because I thought, oh, how am I going to do this on my own? Can I do this on my own? I would try not use a nursing shield every time, but I would pretty much every time revert to using the shield because he just wasn't latching and wasn't eating. A little bit later, I stumbled across an accidental discovery, which was I took a warm shower and tried to feed him, and he fed perfectly without the shield. From then on, every time I wanted to feed him, I would either try and take a shower beforehand, or I'd get one of those things that you can put in the microwave that you then put in your bra to kind of warm up the ladies to get the milk flowing, and that seemed to help for a while. But it didn't work every time, and it was kind of on and off, but we were kind of slowly increasing the percentage of time that I was not using a shield, which again, progress. The next thing I did, I call it the Mission Impossible nursing position. Again, I kind of accidentally discovered this nursing position that worked really, really well for us, but it was very uncomfortable for me. And basically it was having my son on my lap without a pillow. This was the important thing. And then kind of Mission Impossibling my chest into his mouth so that he would kind of get the right position. And as soon as I started doing this, he started latching and drinking well pretty much every time. The problem was it was extremely, as I said, uncomfortable for me because it was very hard on my back. I was hunched over him like Gollum over the ring. And then of course I would burger the boob to make sure that he was kind of like in the right position to get it as far into his mouth as possible. After doing this for maybe a week, I would say during that week, I was doing the Mission Impossible position during the day and using a shield at night. After about a week of that, I reintroduced my nursing pillow, which I used the My Breast Friend pillow, which is chef's kiss 10 out of 10. For me, it's been the best nursing pillow. And he started latching really well. So I no longer had to do the kind of the Gollum Mission Impossible hunch. And that's where we're at. We are now, as I said, like maybe 5 days, maybe a week of not using a shield, which feels like a big win. Yeah, if you're going through it, know that there's hope at the end of the tunnel. Just keep trying different things, keep giving it a go. And even if you have to keep using a shield, it's not the end of the world. It's something that I would have continued to use if I had to and if he was gaining the right amount of weight. I hope this helps. Happy to answer any other questions if they come up. I wanted to share my story because when I was going through it, I was really keen to hear other people's experiences of how they transitioned off of the shield. So yeah, let me know if you have any questions.